The Grand Ole Opry House in Nashville glowed under golden lights on a crisp October evening. Inside, hundreds had gathered for the annual Hearts for Nashville charity benefit, a night meant to celebrate music, unity, and the spirit of giving. Laughter mingled with the twang of guitars, and Southern hospitality was in full bloom. Among the crowd sat Maggie Thompson, a 72-year-old widow dressed in a modest navy blue dress, her silver hair swept into a graceful bun. Her hands, marked by time and love, held a small clutch as she chatted quietly with her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson. Maggie hadn't attended an event like this in years, but something about tonight felt different. Backstage, 35-year-old pop sensation Derek Sterling was adjusting his golden blazer. Arrogant and slick, he was the kind of performer who basked in attention. His latest single was climbing the charts, and he planned to turn tonight's performance into viral content. For him, every show was a stage to flaunt ego. When Derek took the stage in a burst of pyrotechnics, younger audience members erupted. Maggie simply clapped politely, reminded of the stages she had once stood on, before life, love, and loss had taken her away from the spotlight. Then came a twist. Who in this audience thinks they can keep up with a real professional like me? Derek grinned, scanning the crowd with theatrical flair. His gaze settled on Maggie, quiet, composed, and entirely unprepared for what came next. "You. Grandma in the blue dress," he called out. "Yeah, you looked like you were feeling the beat. Want to come up here and give us a tune?" Maggie's cheeks flushed. She hadn't raised her hand. She hadn't asked for the spotlight. Yet now, hundreds of eyes turned toward her, waiting to see what she'd do. Derek's tone grew increasingly patronizing. "Don't be shy. Sing us one of those old church songs. Maybe you used to hum a few tunes in the choir back in the 1950s? The crowd laughed uncomfortably. Derek expected Maggie to shrink away. But instead, something changed in her eyes. The shame disappeared. Grace replaced it. "Actually," Maggie said softly, but with surprising clarity, "I think I will." The room went quiet. With poise and slow, deliberate steps, Maggie rose from her seat. She made her way to the stage, past surprised glances and whispered murmurs. Memories surged within her. Decades ago, she had sung backup in Memphis recording studios for country legends. She had given up that life for love, for family. But the voice? It had never left her. Standing beside Derek, now visibly confused, she simply said, "I'd like to sing something I helped bring to life. A song that means something." Then she began to sing Amazing Grace. There was no music. No instruments. Just her voice. And what a voice it was. Warm. Rich. Soulful. Years of experience, joy, heartbreak, and humanity echoed through every note. The audience was spellbound. People gasped. Phones came out, not to mock, but to capture the moment. One by one, others joined in. Harmony filled the room. It wasn't a performance. It was a moment of pure, sacred connection. Even Derek Sterling, the arrogant pop star, was left stunned and silent. When she hit the final note, it soared and faded into silence. And for a moment, there was nothing. Just stillness. Then, the applause erupted. Thunderous. Genuine. Overwhelming. People stood. They wept. They cheered. And Maggie? She simply smiled, quiet, dignified, radiant. Derek stepped forward, lifted his microphone, but his voice faltered. He cleared his throat and tried again, softer this time. That was incredible. The clapping only grew louder. Someone in the back shouted, "More." And soon the chant echoed from every corner, "More. More." Maggie lifted one graceful hand, and like a wave, the crowd slowly quieted. "Thank you," she said gently. That's all I came to share. But Derek wasn't ready to let her go. Something had changed in him, completely. Wait, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Please, wait. Gone was the cocky pop star in the golden blazer. The stage lights, once flattering, now seemed to expose his vulnerability. He looked at her, then at the crowd, and took a breath. I owe you an apology. A real one. Maggie turned toward him, calm, dignified. The auditorium fell silent, sensing the gravity of the moment. I thought I knew what talent looked like, Derek continued. I thought it was the image, the production, the attitude. He motioned to his flashy outfit with an awkward laugh. But I was wrong. So wrong. He stepped closer to her, this time not as a performer, but as a man seeking forgiveness. You didn't deserve the way I spoke to you. Nobody here did. I made assumptions, about your age, your looks, your quietness. And I was blind to the greatness standing in front of me. The crowd watched in stillness as Derek's voice cracked again. Your voice, it's the most beautiful sound I've ever heard on a stage. He turned to the audience, his raw honesty now piercing through the room. I came here thinking I was the main event. But this woman, she just gave me the most important lesson of my life. Then, turning back to Maggie. Would you tell us more? About your past, your music? Maggie hesitated. Then, with quiet confidence, she nodded. I started singing professionally in 1968, she said. Did mostly background vocals. Studio work. Supported a lot of names you'd recognize. But back then, backup singers didn't get the spotlight, we were just part of the music. From the crowd, an elderly man rose to his feet. Excuse me, was your maiden name Margaret Sullivan? Maggie's eyes widened. Yes. It was. Gasps rippled through the audience. This woman's voice is on some of the most iconic country albums of the 70s, the man said. I've seen her name in liner notes, she was a legend behind the scenes. Derek stared at Maggie, stunned. You walked away from all that? My husband got sick, she said. I chose to care for him, and raise our kids. Music didn't leave my life, it just changed shape. Derek shook his head in awe. You gave up fame, for love. Maggie smiled, her eyes misty. That's not giving up. That's choosing what matters most. The audience broke into warm applause. Derek joined in, genuine now, transformed. Taking the mic again, he turned to the crowd. When I walked out here tonight, I thought I was the most talented person in this building. But the truth is, I almost missed real greatness because I was too busy judging the rapping it came in. He faced Maggie. Mrs. Thompson, would you do me the honor of singing with me? She blinked, surprised. I don't know your songs, dear. Then teach me one of yours, Derek said. Please. I want to feel what it's like to truly make music. After a moment, Maggie nodded. Do you know how great thou art? Derek smiled softly. My grandma used to sing it to me as a boy. And so, they sang. His polished pop vocals layered beneath her rich, soulful tone. The contrast created a harmony that was both pure and powerful. Audience members of all ages joined in, turning the Grand Ole Opry into a living, breathing choir. When the final note faded, the silence that followed felt sacred. Then came the applause, thunderous, but deeper this time. Not for a show, for a moment of truth. Derek raised Maggie's hand. Ladies and gentlemen, he said. Margaret Thompson, a true artist. And one of the greatest teachers I've ever known. He leaned in and whispered, You changed my life tonight. Maggie, smiling through tears, replied. No son, you changed your own. I just gave you the chance. That night, Derek performed his planned set, but something was different. His voice had more heart. He dedicated every song to the teachers in our lives, the quiet, unseen ones who help us grow. And Maggie? She returned to her seat, but not to obscurity. She was surrounded by people eager to thank her, to tell their stories, to be seen. The charity event had raised money, but it gave something far more valuable, a reminder that greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's quiet, silver-haired, and full of grace. Real talent isn't about fame or flash. It's about heart. And sometimes, the most powerful voices come from the most unexpected places.